Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. It is Monday, June 24th, 2024. Yeah, June. And it's hot. Let me tell you, it is hot. We've had temperatures in high 90s. My back porch right now, it's over 100 degrees. And we haven't had rain in, I don't know how long, like 4 weeks. And, that's not always a good thing. We don't want to have it rain all the time, but we need to have rain. Now, I made a mistake, and I'll tell you what I did. I have blueberry bushes, and I have a couple other trees and bushes and stuff outside, and the blueberries were coming in really nice, and they were big, fat blueberries, just the way you want them, and they were starting to really get sweet, and all that stuff, and I was looking at the blueberries and realized, it hasn't rained in much, at all in several weeks. So I got a sprinkler hose out and I put that over around the blueberry bushes and I put it over another plant or a tree that I had growing out there, and I let the water soak in, and that was a mistake. And I'll tell you why. The blueberry bushes got so excited to have water that they pumped all that water into the blueberries, and they all just popped. So thankfully, we had gotten a few, I don't know, half gallon or so or a gallon of blueberries off the bushes before that happened. Now there's still some out there, but sometimes you think you're doing a good thing, and that isn't always the case. So yeah, we had a bunch of ruptured blueberries all over the all over the bushes. Um, all right, so enough about that. I know that um, it's hot and we're struggling with the temperatures and all that sort of thing. But when I do these live streams, I really appreciate everybody that gets involved and becomes part of it. Um, we try to talk about classic cars in this live stream. Typically, in my bracket is 55 to about 78, 79. Somewhere in that range is what I consider my classic car grouping. Some may go a different revenue on that, but that's where I'm at. Now, if you have a question that you want to bring up, or subject matter, or something, by all means, I encourage you to do that. And if you get involved, well, you get a reward bell for being part of the program. And, it's just something I do. I will say also that for those of you that have followed me on Patreon, I did post a video yesterday that I've been still struggling with the eye. And for those of you who don't know, I had a piece of metal stuck in my eye about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now, 2.5 weeks ago, and it got stuck in the, I guess they call it the iris, the colored part of the eye, right next to the pupil, my right eye. And they were able to get that out, but there's still rust residue in there. And one day everything feels fine, and the next day it's angry and it's tearing and watering and just it's just weird. And it'll be good some days in the morning, and some days it'll be good in the afternoon. Today, this morning, it was terrible. I couldn't even go outside. I couldn't. The light was too bright, and my eye was just watering and running and all this sort of thing. This afternoon, it feels better, but it's still just not 100%. So, thank you all. I know that some people have asked me about it and want to follow it up with it. So, trying to recover from that mistake that I made of getting a piece of metal stuck in my eye. Okay, so first in tonight, Rick Gain. It is 25 degrees cooler in New Jersey than it was yesterday. The weather today is much appreciated. Now for some good car talk conversation. Thank you, Rick. Glad you're here. Yeah, I'm hoping that we get some cooler weather soon. 100 degrees is just, 98, 99. It might as well be 100, but it's rough. Rick Stevenson checking in. Good evening, everyone. That's two Ricks now, right back to back. Terry Keithley. Oh, it is hot. Let's cool off with Barry. Please give thumbs up and like Barry or Betty, Terry, and the cats. Thank you all. Jay Living, putting new dash pad and trim in my 68 Fastback. Okay, that's always good. That's always good. Steve Reed, hello Barry and everyone. Hope everyone staying cool. Been in low 90s here with the humidity, it's been 100 or more. Yes. Yeah, and it's, glad you're Steve, it's rough. It is rough. But I haven't had to mow. I could say that. The grass isn't growing. Okay, say Jay Levy says he'll be back soon. And sweating to the oldies. LOL, Mustang is whipping me. Okay. Derek Pro. Hey, Barry, everyone. Hope all is well. The last video was very interesting. And although your car is in bad shape, there's more than $300 in bits. Good score. Thank you, Derek. Yeah. And that's, I'm still debating on what route I want to take with this car. My logical side says just pull parts off of it and get rid of it. I mean, that's what my logical mind says. But then the other side of me is like, no, you can fix this. You need to fix this. So I don't know yet. But Derek checking in from Australia, by the way. Richard Vogel, good evening, Barry. I hope your eye continues to improve. Thank you, Richard. Me too. It is difficult. Derek Pro, you guys are hot over there. We've had hot temps of 12 degrees Celsius and -1 at night. Freezing. That's right. It is wintertime in Australia right now. Yeah, it is smoking hot over here. It really is. Dave Conville checking in from New Jersey. Good evening. Evening, Dave. Rusty's Restoration. Good evening, all, and Barry from Southern Indiana. Hope the eye is doing better. Thumbs up, everyone. Thank you, Rusty. Yeah, it's not 100% by any means, but it comes and goes. It's weird. Blind Luck Mechanic. I don't know about the days, but my patience is getting shorter with this heat. Yes. Yeah. And that's what I did pose that question. Thank you, Blind Luck. That are the days getting shorter? And I believe we have passed that solstice point where now we start losing daylight as the days go by. I have a brother-in-law he likes to post about that. And, hey, it's now the midpoint or halfway or whatever, shortest days and all that stuff. Travis Holman, evening all. I hope your eye's doing better, Barry. Thank you, Travis. Appreciate that. Nandu, hi, Barry and everyone. Hope you're doing good and staying cool. Yeah, well, I am staying cool. I will say that. It's actually probably cooler out here than it is in our house. Just with that one mini split going. It is hard to keep a house cool. It really is. Especially if it's a house, our house was built in the mid 80s and it's probably not insulated well enough. And here's the thing. I get in the summer, I think about it. I'm like, ooh, I actually took my laser temperature gun and went around the ceiling and I found what I consider hot spots. And I'm like, okay, I need insulation there. I need insulation there. And then I go, oh, it's too hot for me to go up there. I'll take care of it in the winter. And then I forget about it. And then summer comes around and I go, I need insulation. It's one of those things where there's always something to do. Bob Shoemaker, good evening. Oh, good hot evening. Yes, hot in Oklahoma with one generous day below 100 this week. Will still be 92 at 10 p.m. Ooh, yeah. Glad you're here, Bob. Robert, evening all. Summer's officially over and misery season is upon us. 100 plus daily and lows of only 80 will be the norm for the next 2 months. Yeah. Yep. Glad you're here, Robert. We'll see how tonight goes. Maybe we'll have you on later. Dave Tyson checking in. Good evening. Evening, Dave. I think it's our first Dave sighting. Travis Holman, we can see you fine with the light off. Go ahead and turn it off if it's still bothering you. Yeah, this light's not so bad. I know I use this light on a stand over here when I'm trying to talk to the camera. This one isn't quite so bad, so I'll leave it on. It just gets a little too dark when I do that because of the background lighting. So thank you, Travis. Derek Pro, hope you heal up quick, mate. As we get older, we become more paranoid about hurting ourselves. Wear all the protection you can. Doesn't matter if you look like a spaceman. Yeah, I agree. It was my completely my fault. Rick Gain, you're right. You did not have a sip of coffee when Rick Stevenson checked in. I apologize for that, and I will do that now. So thank you, Rick and Rick. You were absolutely. He got in early. I think that's what threw me. He got here real early. I'm not used to that. Derek Pro, well, you could just park. It's not like it's going to rust out. LOL. Yeah, talking about the 68. Yeah. Yeah, I know. And that clock is ticking as we talk about time and what we're going to do with it. Jay Living, hi Bear, hope you get to feeling better soon. I'm about blind because of metal in my eyes and welding over the years. It's hot in Northwest Georgia. Yeah, it is definitely hot. And, you know, I don't know. We've all made those mistakes of getting metal or something in our eyes. I just, it's my own dumb fault. Blind Luck Mechanic, 100-degree weather here in North Georgia, and for the past 4 days, my mom thought it would be a good idea for us to cut up and burn a pine tree. It should be plenty dry. Let's see, Terry Keithley, it is if it is a 737 MAX we're flying on, do not sit by any door. Quality control warning. Thank you, Terry. I appreciate that. And just to highlight that, since Terry brought it up, I will not, at least at this point, I can say I will not be doing a live stream for 2 weeks. Like in the next two Mondays, I won't be here. Okay. We're taking a trip, and my wife and I are actually going overseas. So it's been 8 years since we've had a vacation. And we've been planning this with a group of friends for a couple of years now. And so we are going over, I think we're flying to Barcelona, and we're going to take a cruise. All I know is one of the stops is Ibiza. I don't know what the other stops are. I'm not part of that planning process. But I know we'll be making several stops along the way. And so I do plan to make some video. At some point, I will try to show these places that we go to. Now, I don't think I will be able to do any kind of a stream, obviously, because I don't know I know I can't stream from Europe. Let's put it that way. And the only way I can probably stream at all will be on my cell phone. It would have to be a direct live stream from YouTube. So I don't know if that's even possible, and honestly, I don't know that I even want to. If we're enjoying ourselves on a cruise, I probably don't want to stop and go, hey, let me go be on live stream for half an hour or something. But yeah, we're gonna be taking a trip, and it's long overdue, and we're looking forward to that. So thank you, Terry. I will stay away from the door. Steel Ponies Jeff, great score on a $300 coupe. Keeping it from being flat is always better. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that. Yeah, and I think it's one of those, doing a video on it and talking with the owner and everything. He was, I think he had realized it was a bad decision to buy that car. As time went on with him and wanting to do the project, and then it just kind of went away. Basically, he was stuck with his car sitting in his garage and taking up space, and he just didn't want that anymore. So he was willing to get rid of it at a very, very reasonable price. And you can almost justify doing all the work to it because it's almost given to you, right? So you start adding in, well, the floor pan is this much, and quarters, whatever. You can almost see the numbers add up quickly that you're saying, well, I got the car for almost nothing, so I can do this with it and still be okay. So I have to make some decisions as to where I want to go with it moving forward. And I still have the 67 to consider and what it needs, and yeah, plenty to do. Richard Urch, looking forward to seeing the Cobra in paint. Get well soon. Thank you, Richard. I am looking forward to that as well, and I know it's going to be a big event when that happens, because I have to shuffle everything. I have to get this car into the paint booth. I have to get the 69 out of the paint booth, and I have to get all the parts that are piled up in there out of the paint booth, and it's going to be a big ordeal to get everything shuffled around. Troy, good evening all. I'm a little late due to family. I hope you have a great vacation, Barry. Thank you, Troy. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I know that much. Derek, great news. Enjoy yourselves and relax. I would invite you here, but I don't think you want to freeze your tail off. Yeah, I don't know. As long as I don't have to be outside much, it probably wouldn't bother me. Dawn's Manufacturing. Hello, everyone from sunny 76-degree PDX. Betsy attending Beaches Cruise In on Wednesday. Okay, that's awesome. Glad you're here, Dawn. And Jerry is checking in. Howdy, Barry. Howdy, y'all. I hope you all have a great trip. I think mine will be better. I'm going to go to Cleveland and visit my mom. You know, I rarely hear anybody being excited to go to Cleveland. Sorry, I just don't see it. I don't see it very often. Okay, I have something I'm going to show you. Some pictures that Derek has sent me. Derek builds Mustangs over in Australia. He's got his own business going over there, and he'll import stuff. And you know, he's shown us pictures before of various vehicles that he has worked on or rebuilt. And so, oh, okay, here we go. Tall red easel. Believe it or not, you may see the odd pony in Europe. Well, I hope so. That would be really cool. Thank you, Tall Red Easel. Appreciate that. Go ahead and flag that up on top. Thank you. Okay. So Derek has sent me some pictures of a Mustang, 65 Mustang, that he has imported to Australia. And so I'm going to pull some pictures up here, and I'm going to read over what he has to say about it. So you can see there's a lot of there's primer and some various paint. Okay, so he says here's some pics of the 65. You would be happy with this one. All the parts I mentioned in my last video are beautiful. The car looks like crap from the outside, but the bones and structure are great. It still has the original color in places and factory markings. So there's just one shot. Here's another. Here's the rear of the car. Lots of stamping. I scored on this one, even though we pay a lot more. It's great. It is a great buy and will turn out great. And so, yeah, he said, go ahead and feel free to put some pics up. Okay. So that's, I talked about this in particular with the 68 being rear-ended and how bad that was. So here's some original markings on the front frame rail. And I can say I've probably never, ever seen that on a car. Here is the rear bumper mount area that goes on top of the trunk pan. So it still has the undercoating all around it. You can see it's got some code stamping on that angle piece. A little bit of surface rust. Looks pretty minor. And then here's the other side frame rail. And so you can also see the undercoating and how it was sprayed. Of course, some of that has probably been removed over time. But yeah, that looks like a very, very solid car. So good for you, Derek. Looking forward to updates on that. And he says color is Dynasty Green, parchment black and white interior. Dynasty Green. I'm not based on those pictures. Dynasty Green, I can't tell from the pictures. It looks like it's like a seafoam green or something like that. Like it's very, very light green. So I guess I'll have to look up that paint code or paint imagery later. So very cool. Glad you got it. And like I said, I'm looking forward to updates on that. Okay. Other things going on. As I said, I've been struggling with the eye situation. And so I just haven't been overly motivated, to be honest. When I'm standing here and the eye is burning and there's water, tears running out of it, it's really hard to focus on doing things. Next thing you know, let's say you got some gloves or something on your hand and your eyes watering, you're trying to wipe away the tears and and next thing you know, you've got something else in your eye. So I really just haven't been doing much of anything out here. I helped some friends. I did some changed some oil for somebody, and I evaluated a Dodge Durango for friends of ours, losing antifreeze. So I was looking at that. So haven't really done, a whole lot overall. I do plan. I hope to get one more video in this coming week, and here it's starting to water again. If it's, but it may not be on. It probably won't be on the Mustang. It'll be. I've got that Evolution chop saw, miter saw, that I really want to demonstrate for them because I appreciate them supplying me with tools, and it's only fair that I make a video to showcase what their tools can do. So I'll probably try to pull that off before we make our trip. I think I showed it last week. It's a big saw. It's a 14-inch miter saw that, who could ask for anything more as far as a chop saw to cut up metal. The other thing I had, if you remember, I did a video, I don't know if it was last year. I don't remember specifically. I did a video for carcover.com. So shout out to carcover.com because they reached out to me. They had, when they did the video, I did the video for them. They had provided me with a car cover, and I can't remember if I did a giveaway. I think I might have done a giveaway as well with them so that they could, give one to somebody else. So the owner of the company was apparently had searching YouTube and found my video that I did on the Mustang, and he reached out to me and he was like, "Hey," because what I had done is started putting carcover.com. I had carcovers.com in the title or whatever, and he was like, "Hey, if you could fix that, that would be great." And I'm like, "Sure, that's not a problem," So I went back and I fixed it. And then I half-heartedly said, "Do you have?" I knew they had them. I said, do you have car covers for RVs?" Because I have this big RV sitting outside. And he was like, "Yeah, what do you got?" And I told him, and he said, "Okay, I'll send you one for that." So, yeehaw! I'm gonna do when it comes back, when we get back from our trip and everything, I'll probably do a video on that car cover for the RV. That's a big piece of material. I mean, that's a big thing. But I'm thankful that they reached out to me, to make contact again, and so I will be making a video of that at some point. Let's see. The color on the Mustang says, Derek says, similar to Tahoe turquoise. That doesn't help me either. That doesn't help me either. I don't know what that is. And thanks for showing the pics. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Travis, I bought a 69 coupe for $300, sold it for $2,600. Then I bought a 70 coupe. Still have it, but converting it to a 6970 fastback. Okay. You can't beat that. I mean, that's a good deal. That is a good deal. So, let me see here. I'm going to, hold on. I'm going to send Robert an invite so we can see what he's been doing out in his garage. Hopefully he's got something interesting to talk to us about. I know he's done some thrift shopping and come up with some really cool stuff. But otherwise, there's really not a whole lot going on within this building. It has just been too much of a challenge to try to do anything focused with the eye stuff going on. So, let me think what else was. Oh, I will be doing some experimenting with cameras moving forward. I know that I've been putting a lot of effort into using the GoPro, and I've also in the past have used my little Osmo camera that I've talked about, right? And so that's been, I haven't used that one as much or really at all in several months for sure. And also I do have this camera, which I use as my time-lapse camera. And I've been really wanting to try something. And so I managed to find a used Insta360. All right. So you probably have seen these videos, or I don't know. I have to learn how to use the thing. But this camera has two cameras, one in the front, one in the back. Okay. And apparently, this is the cool thing, the latest thing that it's all gee whiz. You can put this on, if you had it on a pole, a handle, whatever. It'll make the look like the pole doesn't exist. Like you'll see it in a shadow, but you won't see it in the video. You won't see the handle. So I was experimenting with this earlier, and oh my goodness, I took it out. I took the dog for a walk, and had it in the 360 mode, and it was like making my head spin. I'm like, how does that work? You know, because you have this camera front and rear, and I guess a processor inside that makes it a whole complete image or something. I don't know, but it's going to be interesting, and I'm going to take this on our trip and see if I can't make some video with this thing. So, hope everybody's still here. I'm not seeing any comments. Maybe I'm talking to myself. I don't know. So anyway, cool little camera. I'm going to be trying it out, and hopefully everything goes smoothly with that. Okay, so Travis is still here. Okay. But yeah, I don't know if y'all have seen the videos. Sometimes people will put these on like a pole or something on their back, and you can see what they're doing and how they're doing it, like from a whole kind of 360 imagery. And it's a new thing for me. So I'm gonna have to learn about this really quick, so I can make sure I don't do something wrong when I'm trying to use it. So yeah, Travis is still here. Richard, I'm here. Please continue. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna bring Robert on, and we're gonna find out what he's doing out in the garage. So,
hey guys, I apologize for the. You're going to get a reflection from that, and the light's going to look worse than back to normal being usual, because I've been pulling down a bunch of lumber that I used to do a lot of woodworking, put a bunch of that stuff down, and it's piled up on the other side of the Mustang. It needs a new home, so yeah, it's just the usual trying to get rid of things,
Well, it doesn't look that bad actually.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
just it's just
you're more clear than you usually are.
Well, I do have one light facing at me because I'm looking at a wall. I'm right up against the wall, and it's just all the lights are behind me, and yeah, you just you know how it goes. Oh yeah, and I do have
Oh, look at that!
I got that. Oh,
You got
this
one of my
thing,
koozies.
it gets used all the time,
Really?
and well, she'll come out and get a root beer, and she's always looking for it to put on her can when she gets the root beer out of the fridge out here.
Yeah, I don't know if I have any more of those left. Actually, they're probably all gone.
That said, and I've told her this, I miss the '80s ones. The old thick, remember the old thick koozies with the thick bottom and the hole in the bottom? They were like half-inch thick things.
Hold on. Hold on. I know exactly what you're talking about.
There you go.
Bing.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And those things there, they were so thick that, they really worked.
Yeah, I had a friend give me this a while back, and I just was like, yeah, okay. I'll put it up on the toolbox. But yeah, I don't even know if they make these anymore.
I haven't looked, but I don't remember seeing them for a really long time.
Yeah.
But no, I'm trying to get rid of that stuff. I got stuff I need to get rid of, and I need to make space. And and I've got, like I said, I worked on the tail panel, or not tail, but the back of it a little bit, and now I'm out on the front. First of all, I had the wrong bumper brackets for the inside ones. It, it's all these things compound. It's not until you start putting together, it's like that's not, that's the wrong one.
Well, and that's like I've got two bumpers sitting here on the floor, or three bumpers. I have the
Mm-hmm.
rear bumper, and I have two other bumpers, and
Mm-hmm.
I know one of them is for this car, and the other one isn't.
Oh yeah, it's like these right here.
Yeah,
I had this thing sitting here. It's like I had this the whole time. It's like, okay, I've got one. I need another one. I buy another one. I'm like, one is not like the other.
yeah, yeah,
Because this it's interesting how the 7.8 is very similar to a 5.6.
yeah.
It's not. It's just a little bit different.
Right.
And you could actually put some washers in there and make it work if you really had to.
Yeah.
But it's one of those. It's just like, well, why couldn't they just reuse the 5.6 one again if it's so close? Just make the bumper fit it. Just
Well,
I don't know.
I had an odd question the other day, and I should have probably taken a picture or saved the picture. Somebody asked me about a door hinge. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a cast iron hinge
Mm-hmm.
on his 68. I didn't have cast iron on
No,
68s.
no, yeah, because
Okay.
67 was, and I like to call it. I don't forget what you called it in your video, but I call it the freak year.
Yeah,
a
yeah. It's
lot a,
just
a lot of
it's
cars have a freak year where there's stuff that carries over from this, and then there's stuff that comes into the next one.
right.
It's just, or it's oddities just at that year. And it's just, every car line has stuff like that.
Yeah, and the 67 is definitely that.
Mm-hmm.
It is just the odd mix
Mm-hmm.
of things. And the thing is, though, the picture he sent me, what's goofy about it, okay, so the door hinges on a 65 and 6, the three bolts are very close together.
Mm-hmm.
So on the door itself, top and bottom, the simple triangle pattern.
Mm-hmm.
On a 67, you have one up high, one down here, and then one down here. There's two, they're kind of offset.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a hinge for the 67 and 68, but it was not a Mustang hinge. So I don't know what it was, unless it was I don't know, unless it was some sort of aftermarket thing,
or,
because
or or some like okay, it was like an early production. We were going to make a cast iron hinge for it. We made a few of them, and then said, "Hey, let's go to a cheaper one."
maybe,
Who knows? I
but
mean,
the
I
thing
have
is,
no idea.
he had one, but he didn't have the other one, like the opposite side. The other
Huh.
one was a normal 67 hinge. So I couldn't help him. And I was like,
Well,
it's a Mustang hinge. It fits the
yeah.
door. That's all I could really say.
Well, and it's like I like the cast iron hinges. Cast iron hinges are great, and
Yeah.
and it's like my El Camino, that thing. The 4 foot long doors that weigh a ton,
Yeah.
and they use these sheet metal hinges that are fine for a 2-door car, but not with that big 4 foot heavy door in
No.
this cheap little bronze bushings that are just tapped into a hole. And I don't care how good you do it, they don't last. It was just a bad design. It really
Yeah.
was. It was so cheap, and it's like, why doesn't somebody make a cast iron one to replace that?
Yeah.
Or even somebody may make a machine one at this point, but I ceased looking at that stuff.
Yeah. Let me get caught up on a couple things. So Travis had asked me, did they make a head strap? You can attach it to a GoPro head strap, so that's not a big deal. That's easy enough. Blind Luck Mechanic says he's still present. Okay. Troy says my comment screen keeps popping up with chat disconnected, then successfully connected. Yeah, I can't help you with that.
I've had that happen too. So
Ricky's Torino. That looks like a new name. Or Rick's Torino. Sorry, not Ricky's. Present. Glad to hear Rick. I don't think I've seen that name before unless you changed it. Jerry says he needs to get me one of those now. One of those.
well, that's hers now. Then
Yeah.
that's the way it works.
Derek says just sent you another email with the colors. COLOURS. Nothing wrong with that. I know. I understand. We don't have the U. So here's a picture of what the Mustang is supposed to look like, I guess.
Okay.
So that's what I said. A seafoam green is. I think it's what I said.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I see. But then it had this interior, which isn't bad.
No, that's not bad at all.
That's a good mix of black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
And I'll get it dirty in 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's the only drawback. You don't want to have that. Derek says, "Hi, Robert. Looking well."
Hey, how's it going? And since you're looking for Mustangs, don't forget my part of the world has them too. So if you see something in my part of the world,
you're talking about Derek.
Yeah,
not me.
No, for Derek. No, for Derek. It's like, if you see something in my part of the world, send me an email. I'll go look at it and take pictures of it. And, that way, if you're looking for something to import down there, you know.
Yep. Marcus, hi from the Steam Garage south of Houston. Glad you're here, Marcus. Michael Pagliarini, hello all. Are the headlight buckets assembly the same on a 65 as a 68? No.
Mm-hmm.
No. Not even close. Not even close.
Now, the part the little sheet metal part that holds the headlight, I don't even think that's the same.
The bucket?
Just the sheet metal piece that the headlight goes into.
Like the bowl?
Yeah, the little bowl.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the same or not. I can't remember on that.
I think those are pretty much universal.
Yeah.
Because I remember at the junkyard we would have, we'd have to swap those out occasionally.
Yeah.
And as long as you got one that was like GM, it fit.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it was anything.
Yeah,
But, Ford could do something weird.
It's like you said. I know, like the GM ones, as long as it was that size headlight,
right?
For the side that you need as well.
Yeah.
You were good to go.
Travis says no way different. Talking about the extensions or buckets. Andrew Allen says howdy. Hello, Andrew. Glad you're here. And Derek says, "We'll do. Our cost to ship are insane now. $7,000 to $8,000 in importing and government costs."
Wow.
Yes, that's.
Yeah, that's. I know it is. I know Australia is expensive to get things into. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what the. I'm sure the market is there.
Yeah.
For such things, but it's a big investment just to get into.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's like, he was talking about, the Mustangs over there in Europe, when I was in Athens last year, I think it was like the first day I was there, because I took my mom. First day I was there, we went down, went to the ATM ate my card. I was coming back up from that, and there was the Mustang sitting right there, just parked right on the street. It looked pretty good too.
Yeah.
It looked really good, but it's like people in Europe have said, yeah, you'll see more classic American cars on the road in Europe as a whole than you will here in the U.S.
I believe that,
and it's probably a lot safer to drive them there than it is here.
Probably. Yeah, it's risky just driving a regular car.
Yeah.
Anymore.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we had, occasionally we'll hear. We live in I say it's not a small town anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the numbers are, but it's got to be tens of thousands of
Mm-hmm.
people live here. But the main road that intersects our dead-end street,
Mm-hmm.
man, you'll hear guys on motorcycles, you hear guys in hot rods just barreling down the road, and they're doing well over 100 miles an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you never hear a siren coming after them because they're just not there. They're not,
Mm-hmm.
they're not scoping that out. But man, it's just you wonder what's it going to take for somebody because there's all kinds of subdivisions,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody flying down that road on a motorcycle at 100 miles an hour, and somebody pulling out from a subdivision. It's just recipe for disaster.
And it's the same with us. Is up until a few years ago, pretty small, pretty quiet, and now they've been building hundreds and hundreds of houses around us.
Yeah.
I mean, just right over here there are. I counted something. There's over 100 houses just right behind us now.
Oh.
Over 100 houses right there that weren't there before, and there's patches of them all over the place. and I can't remember what our. Give me 2 seconds. I'll give you our population.
Yeah, that's what I was just kind of curious. Our county has 124,000 people in it.
Okay, just the city we're in, 14,000 now,
Okay.
and we are, we're outside of town.
Yeah.
We're and it that number is yeah, it's gone up 50% over a short period of time.
Well, ours, according to this, was the last official population count in 2014, 10 years ago,
Hmm.
16,000 people.
Yeah.
And it's probably close to double that.
Hmm. Well, and it's like, there's times a day on certain roads here, because anybody familiar with Texas is everywhere you go, it's county and state roads are your main roads through through cities and towns, and freeways. That is your main roads. And there's times that there's certain roads you get on, and yeah, you're not, you may only be going a mile, and it might take you 20 minutes to get there,
Yeah.
because you've got so much traffic and so many lights and so many turns, and you're just creeping along at some of these places.
Yep.
If it's worse when school is in, because for some reason, no kids ride the bus. None of them walk to school. They all get picked up and dropped off in Texas. It's a
Yeah.
Texas thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty common in a lot of places, but
Yeah. Here they put big long driveways at the schools now. So, that they've got, half mile of driveway so all the parents can line up. And it's like,
yeah.
yeah, just think how much fuel you could save by, if your kid took
Sure.
the bus and walked.
Don says, well, we'll all end up paying the stupid tax if they keep driving that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Derek says, in reference to the door tags, it was cheap to get the tag from Marty, but $75 shipping for a small envelope. That's,
Wow.
but here's the thing. Why should it be $75? I mean, hold on a second.
I mean, even if you
Hold
did
on
like
just a second.
delivery confirmation and all that kind of stuff, it would,
Maybe, but see, like I can ship an envelope with a sticker in it
uh-huh.
with a international forever stamp,
Hmm.
which is only like, I don't even know what it is, 70 cents or something.
Hmm.
I can put a letter with a sticker in it and send that to anywhere in the world.
Hmm.
Now, I don't know if that little tag can't weigh more.
Even if it took,
It's aluminum.
yeah, even if it took 2 stamps.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't,
So I don't understand
yeah, I
where
don't
$75
understand that.
comes from, unless that's crazy.
Yeah.
So
Of course,
sorry to hear that, Derek.
that's probably like the company that I was looking at getting parts for my grill.
Oh yeah,
I go through it and say $60 worth of parts, but we want $65 in shipping for, $15 worth of shipping essentially.
yeah, yeah. So
So
Derek,
it's like,
maybe
yeah, no.
maybe what we need to do is try that. We could do an experiment. I could just get a piece of aluminum, the size of that.
Hmm.
Give me an address, drop it in there with an envelope, and just see if it ships.
Yeah.
And then if you need one of them later, we'll get Marty to send it local
Yeah.
and just drop it in the mail.
Well, worst case scenario is they just send it right back to you if it's not enough postage.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, you could even go to the post office and say,
Oh.
"Hey, I want to send this international." They could weigh it right then and there,
Yeah.
and go,
Yeah.
"Hey, yeah, it's okay."
Well, or there's another alternative. You get enough of them, send them to me, and then I can fly down there and bring them to you.
There you go. You could just hand deliver them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
That
know,
would be good.
I got luggage I can put parts in.
James Smothers, good evening. All running late today. Better late than never. That's true. Glad you're here. Travis says, Barry, what are you planning on your Mach 1? Acid dip. Also, what are you planning on working on after Slither? Okay. No, I don't plan to dip the Mach 1. It was already blasted and put in red primer, but I may go over some of that because they didn't get all the undercoating off. And I don't know that I want to take all the undercoating off either. But I don't plan to do anything crazy with it. I will be fixing the quarters and the wheel houses. and anything else that I deem is justified to get it solid again. But yeah, I don't even know where to take it to get something acid dip. So I can't really just jump on that.
I'm personally, I'm not a fan of acid dipping.
Yeah.
Now you're going to introduce more corrosion and rust into places that you can't get back into, and
yeah, I mean, if they do it right and they
do the
wash
post
it out really
cleans
good and let it dry and spray
Yeah.
it, then you're probably okay. But
Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from.
yeah, and then some of them got the ones where they could put it in dip it again in another vat to basically
yeah.
kind of pickle the stuff that's in the.
Well, see, I've seen some
Yeah.
videos on that recently where somebody they take a car, they'll dunk it, bring it out, and it's glorious. It is just bare metal. Then they rinse it, they hose it down,
I've seen them. Yeah,
and
I've
then they
watched
do it
it.
again and they bring it out. It's in a black oxide material, and then they bake it, and it's like,
Yeah,
how much is that?
yeah. Because the old way of doing it, I'm like, no, I don't like that idea.
Don't like it so much. Let me finish talking with Travis here. At this point, what I still want to do is, once I get everything, and I let me adjust my timeline here a little bit. I plan to paint Slither, okay, but there may be a lag as to when I actually paint it. So I'm going to try to get the doors on, the fenders on, get everything welded or whatever that needs to be taken care of to get all the alignment done, get it at least in epoxy, and then see what happens, okay? If that timeline pushes me off into where the weather is good and I can paint it, then I'll continue doing that and paint it, and then that'll be the end of that. But there's a possibility that I get to a certain point and I go, you know what? I can't do any more. I'm going to pull the Camaro back in and finish that. So the Camaro is should be my next car no matter what, because I have to get that done and get it sold to somebody else. I don't need to have it here anymore. That's my logical mind tells me to do. So hopefully I can stand by that. All right. So Derek says, beats me, international scanning, etc. Talking about the door tag. Dave Britton checking in. Hi, guys. Glad to hear Dave. Terry Keithley, our little town, 325 people, 25 dogs, 20 cats. Okay. Derek says, great idea, talking about trying to mail it. Yeah, we should try it, see what happens. Blind Luck Mechanic, 20 years ago, I was young and dumb and bought a driver's side floorboard from California. It was $80 with $120 shipping, oversized freight. Yeah. Yep. You probably didn't know that Mustangs Unlimited was just down the road from you. Could have just went there and got one. Falcon Keeper 17. That's a new name. Glad you're here. Hi, everyone. Doing a rear quarter panel replacement of a 67 coupe. Considering body soldering like originally used, have you used this technique or would you suggest a different approach? Body soldering? So you're talking about where they... Well, yeah, I don't know for sure. That's what I was going to... Because are you talking about the lead or are you talking about the brass where they tack things together with solder to hold it in place prior to welding? So that's the first question. Second question is, are you talking about lead where the seams are? So let's clarify that first. But if you're going with the copper or the brass type of braze or whatever, you don't have to by any means, but that was what they did when they were coming down the assembly line and fitting things in place and getting it ready for when it was welded so that nothing moved. So that's why you see that stuff in the corners and different places. It's just an alignment type thing to make it ready for spot welds. So that is just temporary. You have to weld everything else. You have to make all the spot welds.
And my thing with doing with the brazing, on cars like this, I don't know what they used back then, but what everybody's used to is the normal can of flux, a brass, and a torch. I worry about what we're used to is like, okay, you go to a joint where it's like this, and you do that little braze at the top. What happens when that flux runs into that joint? And then you paint the car, and then that, later on you have an issue with the reaction. That's one thing that I worry about. If say if you wanted a brass braze, stuff like that, it's like, okay, what happens later on? Because I don't know what they used for.
Yeah.
I have no idea what they used.
I
you
don't
know,
either.
for, for flux and all that, or if they use flux at all.
They probably didn't.
Yeah, who knows?
James says, when I did my Marty Report data tag, it was $10 shipping, but I do know they charge a lot more for rush orders, which is 10-day turnaround time. Regular orders could take 4 to 6 weeks.
I wonder if they're just doing UPS and saying, okay, well, we'll ship at UPS and let them do the international thing. And UPS, FedEx, either one charge huge amounts for international shipping. They just
Of
do.
course. Yeah.
And it's probably what it is. And they don't want to. Well, I don't know. How did you? I know you did yours. How did they ship yours? Was it post office or UPS?
I did the big board.
Yeah.
I did, and it was UPS.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
it was UPS.
I know he's probably not familiar, but here in the U.S. it's like anybody can get the little scale and the printer and do stuff through the post office at home.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody can do that. So I don't know why they wouldn't use that for international as well. But
Well, because they want to make money.
and it might just be, and then they're just used to. We just use UPS. That's just what
Yeah.
we do.
Yeah.
I could see that as well.
Let's see. James says, with the current weather trend in Georgia, the humidity won't allow it until October, and that's very possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's difficult to prepare something for paint
Mm-hmm.
when the temperature is so high, because you're trying to spray, and without the climate control and all that stuff, you're done.
And I was looking at just looking at one of the body shops that I drive by, and I was just looking at what their system setup was, and a lot of them are just basically using either like big massive rooftop units or other types of the things, so they can dump a bunch of cool, the cool air into the inlet side of their booth, and then it just gets sucked out on the other end of it.
Yeah.
And that's a huge amount of electricity because nothing's being recycled. You're just pumping out cold air constantly.
Yep.
And then you're having to, that's a huge investment to run a booth, especially here. Up north, it's easier to heat than it is to cool. It's a lot easier to heat a booth than it is to cool a booth.
Yep.
So yeah, here it's got to be tough for those guys.
Norris Net is checking in. That's Jeff, I believe. Glad to hear, Jeff. Derek says, just as a solid roller, the Camaro will sell like a hotcake.
Mm-hmm.
I hope so.
It will. It will.
I hope so. I know the first one I did, I really didn't. I mean, I knew what I had tied up in it, and I didn't lose money. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't asking a fortune for it either.
Mm-hmm.
I was just trying to sell it and get it gone. Now this one, I don't know what my price will be on it, but it has some cool features. It does have the tubular front suspension under it, aluminum radiator.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
it's got a bunch of neat, add-ons.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to. But when I do it, I want to also kind of advertise it in a way, simply because it has they've somebody smoothed out the firewall.
Yeah.
And I'm not overly a fan of that.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody might be.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody might not. So if somebody's interested in it, now would be the time.
Well, and that could be a candidate for somebody that's wanting it to put, some big old 454 in it, and they don't want the air box there, and they want big tall valve covers, and could definitely be for that kind of buyer. And somebody that's doesn't want air conditioning or doesn't need air conditioning, or will just do the smaller under dash units that they have that don't stick out anymore, things like that.
It's funny you mentioned that, because when I bought that first 68,
mm-hmm.
it came with a 454 in it. I had forgotten about that. It had a 454 in it, the black one that I did.
No, okay.
I turned around and sold that engine pretty quick,
mm-hmm.
Because I had no interest in it. But then I did all the metal work to it and sold it. This one, the 68, does not have. It didn't come with an engine or anything, so which isn't a big deal.
What's funny is that 454 back in would have been the 90s. When my dad was running he was plant manager for the big engine rebuilder.
Yeah,
they would buy 454 cores from a core supplier. When you buy from a core supplier, you buy it and say, okay, you're guaranteed a good core. You know, if
Yeah.
the block comes back bad, they'll give you another. They'll keep giving you parts until you get, you know, a whole good core. You have any idea what that was? What a core for 454 sold for in the 90s
Oh,
from a core supply?
probably $150.
$1,000.
Really?
They engine rebuilders were paying $1,000 to core suppliers for 454s back then, because even in the 90s they weren't the easiest things to get back then.
Okay.
And there weren't enough of the aftermarket blocks at the time either.
Okay. Yeah, I know the big push on those engines were the Merlins. They
Mhm.
people wanted to have the Merlin block or whatever.
Yep.
It was all
And
kinds of special.
well, and it's like I just found out, you know, you can't buy the regular 350s anymore. So like for the, you know, the old style 350s.
Yeah. Well, there's probably only about 100 million of them on the
Well,
available.
and the only reason I knew is because I was looking for an engine for my friend's boat, and I was looking up. So, oh yeah, they stopped making them a few years ago. You can get a new one, but it's with a dart block, and it's all aftermarket parts.
Oh, nothing wrong
So it's
with that.
probably better.
Yeah. So Falcon Keeper highlighted. Sorry about that. Lead at the sail panel to quarter.
Yep.
You can use that if you like. I don't, and I wouldn't. I don't plan like the other 65 and 6 cars that I've done. I've just used short strand fiberglass. So make sure it's all welded solid, good, structurally sound, and then scuff it up really good. Put the short strand fiberglass on, sand it, top coat it with Rage Ultra or something like that, and block it. And that's all you really need to do. That's my
And it's
opinion. But
same
that's
here.
how I do it.
Same here. So, I mean, it's the exact same process, and it's not hard, and it goes by pretty quick.
Yeah.
And I even got the curve to come out really pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with it.
Okay. Derek says, I think a spray booth oven company should donate one to you, supplied and fitted. You know what? If they did, I would do a lot more painting. Even though I don't like it, I would probably do a lot more painting. But I just,
There was a spray booth. Oh, I don't know. It's probably a couple of years ago. I was looking through Craigslist, and this guy was selling, full size spray booth, and it was like $500. Just come and take it apart and get it out of here.
Yep.
I was like, that's a heck of a deal. But the problem is, you got to have a big trailer and a bunch of guys to do that.
Been there, done that.
And preferably a crane on your trailer so you can pick up the panels and set them down.
No, we did it all by hand. We took it. We had a guy sell us. We bought a paint booth. I mean, it was a regular big old,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, 30-foot paint booth, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he had it in a building behind his house that he painted cars. And he said, I'm done. And so we went over there and labeled every single thing, took all the bolts
Mhm.
out, took all the panels apart, brought it back, put it together in our shop. And it was a great paint booth. It worked great.
Well, the similar thing I did in the past was walk-in coolers in
Yeah.
refrigerators. So I have those big, thick, heavy panels. A friend of mine had business doing it, and we had one that we went all the way down to Branham, Texas, and they said, "Oh, this is a CVS. It's a 4-foot by 4 by 10-foot cooler in there that you guys. We just need you to take it out and get it out of the store." We get there. It wasn't 4 foot. It was 40 feet. Then we get there, and I'm looking at the thing, and it's got, it's strung up and hanging. The top panels are hanging from the ceiling, and we got 3 guys. We had that entire thing, the racks, they had the glass doors on it, the big glass doors. We tore that entire thing down, had it loaded on the trailer, the big trailer outside, in like 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
And then we got in the van and just.
Yeah. Travis says, I broke down and bought a Redline rotisserie with the hand crank and their body cart here locally for $1,500. That's
Nice.
a good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a
I
nice
have-
rotisserie.
I have that hand crank they sent to me, but I have to modify the rotisserie to use it. I just haven't had time to mess with it. James, seen a 72 commercial Earlshire paint special for $29.95. Yep. People have been posting out a bunch on Facebook.
Mhm.
Blind Luck, what year is the Camaro? It is a 68. This car, I've had it way too long. Probably bought it, I don't know, 2000. I don't even know. 2010. I don't know. No, probably later than that. I don't remember. But anyway, it was. I think it had must have had a tree fall on it. I thought maybe they had rolled it,
Mm-hmm.
but I really don't know because it was full of dirt when I got it. Like
Hmm.
like it had rolled into a swamp or something. I don't know.
Hmm.
But it could have been just that the tree fell on it and they just never covered it up or something. So, yeah, that car I had to disassemble and reassemble with a whole new side that
Yeah.
I had it back here in the garage for years. Before I think I had that before I did the Brooklyn Pony car. I had that side sitting there, and
Mm-hmm.
finally I just said, you know what, I got to get this off the floor, and I put it in the car.
Well,
So
yeah, but, get it done, and before you destroy the new piece, just moving it around and bumping
yeah,
things into it, and
yeah, I
yeah,
got tired of tripping over it, to be
yeah,
honest.
yeah.
Derek says, got to go, guys. Stay well, Barry. Enjoy your trip. See you, Robert, and everyone. Glad you're here,
Hey,
Derek.
see ya.
Dave Britton, they use a lot of 454
Mm-hmm.
blocks in super modified dirt track cars. Okay. I don't know what the I don't know what the weight difference is between a small block and a big block.
I used to know. I don't know anymore.
It can't be 100 pounds.
Yeah, and I do remember the big thing was when they were available was if you had like something with a small block, you went for a Cadillac. You wanted a 472 or 500 because those are great, really, really good engines, and
Yeah.
they were almost the same weight as a small block Chevy.
Really?
And yeah, they're really good engines to retrofit into other GM vehicles because,
So didn't they had what? I
and they
think
had a
Cadillac
goofy fuel injection at the
Oh.
time, originally,
But didn't,
way
I
back
think,
then. Yeah,
I think Cadillac had a 512. Didn't they have a 512 engine?
I
472, and I thought a 512. For some reason that comes to mind. Um,
they had a few oddball
but I
like
know they had a
yeah
472.
yeah
That one I know for sure.
yeah. Well, then you got
Back.
the 305. Was it the GMC 305 6-cylinder?
Yeah,
Big
yeah.
old pistons in that
That's
thing.
what was in my Franken truck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got rid of that. Had enough torque to pull a house over, but
Oh yeah.
it wouldn't go anywhere.
Yep.
Let's see, Michael, Winners Foundry for 454 blocks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll have to take your word for it. I don't know what that is, but I'm sure it's a reputable place.
Yeah.
It's funny. I've got a 350 small block Chevy sitting on the back corner. I've got an LS sitting over here with the transmission.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the 351 Windsor out of my Mach One. I've got two 351 blocks sitting here that are just random.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the 289 that was in the 67 that I'm going to have to put new pistons in it. I think that's it. Oh, no, I have another 289. I have the Mexican block 289.
Oh yeah. I remember that
with
one.
the-
Yeah.
With the thick
Mm-hmm. Now
cast.
I have a question,
Yeah.
and this will be for the 351 guys. And I remember back, when my dad was at the engine rebuilder, and I'd go in there every so often, and you go to the back dock where they're tearing down engines. They'd get them, they buy them from the junkyards out in California, and they bring out semi loads of them.
Yeah.
And 351s, and I don't know which ones anymore. It's been too long, but 351s, it seems so many of those cars, they end up in the junkyard because they had an issue of bending push rods. And it was, so I asked the guy, and I said, it was tearing them down. And he says, every one of them I get basically has a bent push rod. And that's why it's here. They'd bent a push rod and they junked the car.
Huh.
And it was just a really super common problem. But I don't know why it was. I don't know the reasoning behind it. All I know is that when you went, you had a whole row of them, and you could look at a row of them, and it's just like every single one of them had at least one bent push rod.
Huh.
And these were bone stock factory engines, never been touched. They just been used, and it's just it's kind of sad. A lot of these cars got junked because of one bent push rod.
Yeah.
Not even $1 part at the time, years ago.
Yeah, and then we'd have cars show up at the junkyard. My dad would buy from the auction. He'd have I remember one, just still boggles my mind. It was a 72, 3, 4 something Dart, or whatever, with a slant 6 in it. And it had a hole in the block where number 3 and 4 connecting rods would be. Connecting rod still attached, and the thing still ran.
Just sitting there.
So the rod's hanging out of the
Yeah.
side of the block, just flapping around, and it ran like, you know, it was like you see these. Sometimes you see something like an animal that's got an injury,
Yeah.
and it like doesn't know that it's injured, so it just keeps on going, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I looked at like this. This thing's seriously wounded, and it just doesn't care. I'm just going to keep running. I've got this rod hanging out of the side of the block. I don't care.
Yeah.
Okay, so James says, enjoyed your last video about the $300 Mustang. Thank you, James. Appreciate that. And Dave Britton says, Barry I did look, and the Cadillac had a 572 engine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a lot of different weird engines.
Yeah, there was. You know, it's funny now. I was thinking there was a 472, but a 572 seems very likely.
Yeah, Cadillac, but GM as a whole had so many oddities over the years.
Well,
as a whole, there were so many odd engines, and a lot of GMs.
Well, yeah, if you go down the list of Pontiac and Olds and Buick and you know, Cadillac and Chevy and all those GM, you know, whatever, you go down that. Yes, wide range.
Oh yeah, it's kind of like they said, hey, this one engineer was designing one. It said, and it's like it's one of those. It's like, hold my beer and watch what I design.
Well, you know, I talked about that show, American Muscle Cars or something. It was made in the early '90s or something. And I've been watching that show.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And they did a thing on the Pontiacs, and they were talking about how 55, you know, the early 55 model, whatever, the Pontiac was just like the Slug. It was just, it's a generic family car, no power, blah blah blah, and they progressed, and Pontiac was like, you know, we're going to try some things, and so they built their own small block engine, which they had before, but they built this engine. It was like a 287 or something. It was not a huge engine, and that block apparently, I don't know what their thinking was, but it must have been a huge block with a small bore, because that same block progressed all the way up into the Super Duty Pontiacs. They said now they've got it punched out to a 389 or whatever it was, and they were dominating even in NASCAR, and just nothing could compete with them. And then Pontiac said, "Oh, we're not going to do this anymore. We're done." And they just stopped.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, it's just there was a lot of weird ones over the years.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody remembers the 468.
Oh yeah. You know, I was just thinking here. We were talking about this, and I probably have a picture of it somewhere. I don't have it on my little sidebar, but I'd mentioned before. Now that Dave brought up the 572, I don't know what year that was. I'm trying to remember now. My brother built a trike with a Cadillac engine on it. And my mind is now saying it might have been a 572.
Well, because my friend had a Cadillac limo. It was like a early 70s Cadillac limo, and he had the 472. He had the smaller of the two of the versions of them. He had the 472, and that was a nice car to ride in.
Yeah.
I drove it one time around the parking lot, and I was like, no, this thing is just I'm getting seasick in it, and no.
Yeah. James says in the day people were modify the 351 with 400 heads, great horsepower, but grenaded easily. 351M. Yeah, 351 modified. Yep. Dawn's manufacturer, as I recall, Cadillac had a 472 and a 500. Yeah, I don't know why I'm still thinking a 512, but if Dave found a 572,
Well, there were also some other big engines that were made for fire trucks and stuff like that too.
oh yeah,
So there was some of that stuff that's out there in the world.
yeah,
And Ford had some really big ones. They had a lot of fire truck ones as well.
yeah,
And my grandfather, when he worked at Chrysler many years ago, he worked at the Chrysler stamping plant for a while. You know, the one that's in the movie 8 Mile, because they lived right there. And they were building fire trucks there at the time, and it wasn't his thing, but somehow he got to drive the back end of the fire truck out of the building because they were driving them out. And he got to, it was one of these steer at the back, and he actually got to, when they were moving out, they just said, "Hey, I need somebody." And it's like, okay, he went, and, drove it out of the building.
It's funny. You just mentioned that about fire trucks, because my son is a firefighter, my younger son, and he recently went through the training to where he is now, I guess it's an engineer, I guess. So he is driving fire trucks now, and he's in charge of the pumping and all that sort of thing. So it's pretty cool to see him move up in those ranks.
I did the volunteer thing for a short time.
Yeah.
For a very short time. And it was interesting.
Well, I never did fire trucks, but I was, in high school I was on the ambulance service, volunteer for that. Whole family.
Oh, yeah, I remember you talking about that before.
Yeah. James says, worst Cadillac engine ever, all North Stars.
No. The 4100, the original 4100.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
But
Michael, 572 is a Chevy high performance crate motor.
But once that 4100 turned into the 4.9 at the end, it was like they finally figured it out. And it was the last generation was like, that was a pretty good engine. And then it was the end of life for it. It just always seems to be the case, no matter what car company it is. By the time you get to end of life, it's like, all right, we've got it figured out. It just works. It's reliable. Oh, we got a couple of the new engine for next year.
Right. Well, it was like what the Taurus SHO or whatever had the Yamaha. I think it was a Yamaha engine in it or something. And apparently it's a screamer.
Yeah.
I mean, super high revs and but you don't. Nobody ever says, "Hey, I'm going to put this in my car."
Yeah. And it's like, look at the Fiero. Fiero at the beginning, had so many problems, and then again, end of life last year or so, it's like, we got it figured out. It works great.
Yep.
The only mistake they didn't make was if you taken the Fiero and from the factory put the supercharged 3.8 in it,
yeah,
that would have sold like hotcakes. Would have sold like hotcakes, because that thing would be, lifting the front wheels off the ground without even trying.
Yeah, there would have been too many people crashing that thing though.
Oh yeah,
they don't turn.
No, but they are fun.
Yeah. Yeah, my wife had one. We've had two she had, but yeah. Dawn says, I know worst Cadillac motor had to be the 4100 HT, stands for huge turn.
Yep. And I knew somebody that had two Cadillacs with those, and those things would eat camshafts like nothing else. And I, both of them ate the camshafts, and they had these, the rocker things were these aluminum pieces. The actual rocker ball was a separate aluminum thing and they were known to break. Yeah. And amongst all the other issues. And he said, he said, "Hey, would you change out the camshaft on these for me?" It's like, I tell you, I'll do it, but the engine needs to be replaced, or the car needs to be replaced. Yeah. And I did it, and they both ran for, and the thing was, it's like, you do realize all that metal from the camshaft where it wore off is in the engine everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's like, I told him, it's like, it might live a month, it might live a year, because you're going to have all that stuff eating away at it. And I think he said he had them both for another year and a half or so. And then they just started showing the signs of everything wearing again. Yep. And I was like, yeah, I told you not to do that, but he understood. So.
Blind Luck Mechanic says North Star, the only engine I've ever heard of where the starter is under the intake.
Oh, there's a lot.
Several that have done that.
Toyota does that too.
Yeah.
The Toyota V8s are that way. There's a lot of engines actually that modern engines now that do that, and it must be a heck of a good quality starter now if they if they last. That's a lot of heat.
That's true. Yeah. Bob Shoemaker Cadillac 4100 cam flat champions.
Yeah.
Don says 4100 had a two-piece block that had a bolted-in upper cam bearing holder.
Yeah,
it just doesn't. None of that sounds good at all.
No, yeah. But like I said, once it got like I think the 4.9 was the last one, and it was like it's a pretty good engine, good little lightweight engine to put into something. It would like I saw guys putting them into Fieros actually because it was a lightweight engine. They instead of a 350, they put that in there because it's lightweight.
Yeah. James says Ford 302 was Ford's longest production run ever. I believe that.
Good engine. Yeah. Really good engine.
Yep. They. Yeah. Oh.
So are you? Go ahead, Rick.
Oh, Don was saying it didn't work. Too much shift. I guess talking about the two-piece blocks. Yeah.
Yeah. So are you ready for Friday?
Am I ready for Friday? Not really.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to have Jerry, have her, check flights, and it's like maybe I could beat you to Barcelona, and I'll just sit and wait for you to show up.
Cool. That would be cool.
And that way I could film you, coming out of the terminal or something.
That would be interesting. Yeah, I don't know. We're gonna our flight leaves in the evening. I know that much. I don't know how many hours it is. 9 or 10 or something along those lines.
From Atlanta, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, and that's the only thing that's got me stressed is being in the air for that long, and hopefully I can fall asleep.
I don't sleep on planes.
Oh, I can't.
I don't. I never never have been able to.
I would rather sleep and never know that it crashed. Than to be going the whole way down.
Well, we're still trying. We want to do our vacation. We haven't bought tickets yet because our airline doesn't fly there to Greece at the time when we want to go there. They've already stopped flights. We have to buy tickets, and so we're watching that, looking at that, and it's basically the shortest you're going to get is 16 hours. So from the time you leave here to the time you get to Athens, it's basically 16 hours. That's the shortest you can get it.
Yeah.
You're going a lot shorter distance. So, and we would probably be going through Turkey, just like I did last year with my mom. So, like I said, we're still working on that. And you were talking about, it's just time goes by quicker and older, and all this, the days get shorter. And I bring up something that, I took my mom last year, and she had a good time. And, this is something that, you kind of think about is, she retired, several years ago, and she got to the point where it's like, my dad was like, hey, you're retired. Let's do this. What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And she just kept dragging her feet and dragging her feet and dragging her feet. And, I took her last year, and now she's developed some neurological issues. And, now she's kicking herself for, I had all that time that, I just wouldn't make a decision on where to go and what to do. And my dad was just like, hey, just tell me what you want to do and we will do it.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that. When you have the opportunity, just do it.
Yep.
And if you, and it's like, my mom did really good last year in Greece. And the thing is, places like that, especially Europe, especially Athens, don't wait till you're old.
Right.
Because if you wait till you're old and into retirement to go there, you're not going to enjoy it. It is far more physical than you realize. It is not like driving around here in the U.S. Everything's uphill. It's downhill. It's slippery. It's big steps.
Yep.
It is not easy, and it is. He said, "Well, I can just do." Yeah, you can do a tour bus, but you're going to miss out on 90% of the excitement and fun of being there and doing things.
Yeah.
So don't wait. Just
right.
do it as soon as you can. Don't put it off. you know, and at least my mom got that trip last year.
Yeah.
So at least she got that, and she really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So, but just a little story about don't wait.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Don't wait
Yeah.
too long.
That's. I agree. Let's see. Oh, Dave Britton says correction. The 572 was not the biggest engine in the Caddy. It was a 500. Okay. I still, in my mind, I think there was a 512, but I don't know for sure. But I think there was. But
Could be.
either way, it was a big engine.
The 472 500 was one of those basically same engine kind of things. Same block, but different.
Well, see, I don't know for sure. I know the 472 was back in like the 70s.
Mhm.
So later generation, I don't know when the 500 became what it was. But
Yeah, I have to look
somehow
that up
I have
again.
a thought of a 512. I don't know why.
Yeah, I need to get the book out, the core book out,
Yeah.
with all that information in it, and look at it one of these days.
Dave always says a few years ago he flew to Florida and was so rough the overhead doors were coming open and people were screaming and praying. Yeah, yeah, that'll make you do that. But I've commented before on this, and I mentioned it in my latest Patreon update video. I took a flight with a group of people. Actually, we were doing a mission trip to build houses in Juarez, and we've done this several times. And when you fly over Texas, it's like it's just you're not going to get a
Yeah,
smooth flight.
it's
just
all
ain't
that hot
happening.
air coming up,
Yeah,
and
too
then
much
the
hot
high
air.
pressure overhead. Yeah.
And so, I'd flown quite a few times. I flew in the military, which is always risky.
Hmm.
And so we're flying, and we're all bouncing around. And I'm looking at a magazine. I'm like,
Hmm.
and all these people turn around and are looking at. I didn't know it. I was like looking at the magazine.
Hmm.
I glance up, and there's like 10 eyes looking at me, and I'm like, what's up?
Yeah, exactly. It's like
That's
what's
going
the big
on.
deal? Yeah, what's the
And
big deal?
they said, well, we wanted to see, if you were going to be panicking, then we would panic. We were trying to see if you were going to, And I looked at them all and I said, well, it really doesn't matter. You can't do anything about it anyway.
Yeah, yeah. There's nothing you can do.
You might as well enjoy the ride
Yeah,
because you're not going to change anything.
yeah, yeah.
If the plane's going down, you might as well just
Yeah.
ride
I,
that thing to the ground.
I tell you, I only had one time that caught me off guard, and I was coming back from Salt Lake City, and I was sitting up in first class, back when you could get those seats,
Yeah.
sitting up there, and I went to the bathroom, and it was a perfectly smooth flight. I mean, butter smooth. I got up, went to the bathroom, and I was coming back from the bathroom, and all of a sudden the plane went, and it's like there's nothing underneath my feet for a split second there, and I'm like grabbing on the seat.
Yeah.
It's like you do the kind of
Yeah.
you hunch your knees down to cushion. It's like okay, I wasn't expecting that one.
Yeah.
I mean, that really caught me off guard because, like I said, it was butter smooth flight. It just
Yeah.
nothing, and it's just like this one little poop out of the blue, and that was it.
Dave Britton, I searched the 512 and could not find anything, so not sure. Okay. Maybe I'm wrong. I could
I
be
don't know.
wrong. And it could be that it was called a 500, but it might have actually been a 512. Kind of, you know how
No.
that works.
Yeah,
They sometimes they just put a number up there to, that's got a nice roll to it.
it's like
Let's
the
just go with
396s and
402s,
stuff like
right?
that. Yeah.
James, I went camping a few years ago. My aunt invited my wife and I. I had a big lecture to beware of the pineapple people. Beware of, or take note of. Yeah, yeah. We've had conversations about the pineapple people as well.
Yeah, that kind of goes hand in hand with being on those boats.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, but
Okay.
you're gonna have a good time,
Yeah.
and if you don't, if you try to do a live stream, that's cool. But if we do go to Greece and you do a live stream and it works out where there's a Monday that the timing works out,
Yeah.
I'll get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and see if I can do it outside, outside and get a view of something, and that way you can get it live there.
Well, like I said, I'm going to be experimenting with this little camera,
Mhm.
trying to learn its ins and outs. I've got my two GoPros. I've got my Osmo. I'm not going to take my regular handheld I don't think I'm going to take that
No,
camera.
too big, too
Everything will be
bulky.
GoPro or, you know, along those lines. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm
But
looking
I'm
forward
I'm
to it.
looking I'm looking at the Insta 360, the one that's like a GoPro, the one that they make that's like a GoPro.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
that's what I'm looking at as a replacement. Uh,
Yeah.
but everything I've seen and heard about them, and people are really happy with them. They're really
Well,
happy.
uh, I'm going to find out.
Yeah.
If I can make sure that I know what I'm doing with it, I'll feel better. But yeah, it's a different animal.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, menus are different, and so, yeah, yeah, new stuff to learn.
James says avoid the pineapple people. Okay, and Bob's Maker 500 was the biggest for 70 to 76. Okay,
Okay.
thank you, Bob. Appreciate that. Um, with that, I think I'm gonna go.
Yep.
I've actually been an hour and a half,
Yeah,
so that's pretty good.
and there's not much padding on these stools.
No,
I mean, I've got padding, but it doesn't have enough padding, you know.
yeah, yeah, and so yeah, I'm with you. So yeah, glad you were here. There will
Yep.
be updates.
Yep.
Hold on just a second. Art Man says my buddy Tom had a 72 Eldorado with a 472. There was a sticker somewhere that said GM 501, and I think he said it was an EPA designation. Okay.
Hmm.
Well, thank you, Art. All right, so I'm gonna let you go, Robert.
All right.
Thanks for
See you
being
guys
here.
later. Have a good time.
And yeah, thanks. See you. Okay, so anyway, next 2 weeks, I don't plan on me being here. I don't think it's going to happen at all. I do plan to shoot some video of wherever I go, and hopefully everything turns out really nice. I don't know if I'll put that video on this channel. Normally I don't do that on the Joe Daddy's Garage channel. I put stuff like that on my other, like Joe Daddy's Workshop, something along those lines. I just try to keep that somewhat isolated away from the car stuff. I don't know. So anyway, thank you all for being here. And let's see. I don't know when whatever 3 weeks is when I should be back. So until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.